And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Travis Parry again. Travis, welcome back to Experts Speak.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
You are welcome. It's always fun to have you here. Travis is, he's the #1 Amazon bestselling author of Achieving Balance, and his author of his newest book coming out soon called Balanced Growth. And so Travis has invested a lot of time working with financial advisors across the nation, helping them find balance. And whether you're a financial advisor or not, you can learn a lot from Travis. And part of this new book called Balanced Growth is this concept that Travis enlightened me on the other day called inviteology. And I thought, okay, y'all need to hear about this. So Travis, let's unpack a little bit about what is inviteology.
Sure thing. Well, thanks again for having me on the show. And everybody, you don't have to be a financial advisor to use inviteology, but here's the thing. Financial advisors are notorious for thinking if they could just have a referral, that referral somehow is going to build their entire business. Now, number one, I believe in referrals, and I think your product, your service should be so amazing that it transforms lives, and people can't help but being a raving fan, and they're going to spread your message. That said, if you're getting started or if you want to get to the next level, I created Inviteology because I was kind of in a plateau. I was stuck myself. I was trying to get my message out to my niche. So whether you are an advisor, whether you are a coach or speaker, you have a niche and you've identified that, that's really the first step. You want to reach out to them. Some people say, well, just go online and pepper spray every Facebook group that you can find, automate ads until you're tired of paying 10 grand a month. Like, legitimately, I have done every single trick in the book until I discovered there is something incredible about just inviting people to something that we both can benefit from. So Michael invited me on this podcast. We both benefit. There's a win-win. I can share my message. He continues his podcast. Guests love it. It's really a win-win-win. But that said, what I've done with Achieving Balance, when I first wrote this, I was at a plateau in the business. I needed to get to the next level. And I found that if I could just invite people to be interviewed for this book project, that I can not only get research for my book, but two, some people actually needed the help that this book was all about. And they would ask me, they would literally say, well, Travis, you're the balance guy. Can you help me with this? And man, what a difference between when people ask me for help versus trying to sell, trying to push. Now, back to financial advisors, the reason why this worked so well for them is they love the approach because it was so professional.
Yes.
So the concept is not some gimmicky, get rich quick, overnight fast cash, multi-level scam. Sorry, anyone in multi-level. It's not always a scam, but It's not something that's just going to fly by night, going to be gone. I've been using Inviteology for years now, and I use it with my book, with my podcast, for events, and the list goes on. So the idea is you invite people in for a win-win relationship, and some percentage will enjoy that so much that they're going to want what you have, and they're going to want your training.
Yeah, that is so good. And we can probably dive really deep in this because it really is a different, dare I say pitch. It's not even a pitch, but if you're reaching out to people because you've already segmented them, you've already defined the target audience. And what I tell people, Travis, and I'd love your feedback here. So many business owners think they have to reach everybody on LinkedIn that has, and it's like, time out. Hey, you don't have time to do that. How about 100 to 200 total? And then you pare it down from that. Is that fair? Is that right?
Yeah. Kind of the first step. I just talked about this yesterday on a live stream that I did, but the first step is you have to have something that is going to be transformational.
Yeah.
You have to have something created. That is super, super important. Now, those of you that are listening, you are an expert in something. If you're the paperback expert, or you're the financial expert, you're the health expert, you already have something. So don't worry about polishing in that so much that before you advertise. No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. But you do need to have the concept here.
Yes.
Once you identify what the concept is, the most important thing that you just mentioned, Michael, is who is this for?
Yeah.
What is your niche? Now, some people are like, well, it's for business owners. Sorry, that is not a niche. That is quite honestly an industry.
Yes.
Like, well, it's for financial advisors. No, that's an industry. You have to dig. There's two parts of the niche. And I'm going to reveal this now. This is something I do in all of my trainings. Number one, demographics. Well, okay. So what are the demographics? Key demographics: age, marital status, income, location, etc. Like you get it. You know, those are the typical. Travis, I already know this. I know you know. But unfortunately, this is where most people, they think they have it understood. They don't actually write it out. And so they get out there and they start marketing to people who they think is in their demographic. And they're talking to 55-year-old financial advisors instead of a 35-year-old. A 35-year-old has completely different issues in their family, in their business, than a 55-year-old, stereotypically speaking.
Right.
So you want to make sure you stick with that demographic. Second part, probably the most important part, because really a demographic, Michael, as you know, you could like someone on paper,
right,
but then as you meet them, like, oh, this is not a good fit.
That's right.
We would never work well together. So the second part is psychographic. Now, psychographic, for those who aren't in the marketing world or maybe never heard this term, this is essentially their the softer side of science. And I hate when people say the soft side, because it's not a soft science. It's a hard moving target. But that said, you get it. It is, what do they value? What are their belief systems?
Mm-hmm.
What are their tendencies, their personality, and even their likes and dislikes?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this key? Well, because when you do get to an actual advertising, or you're putting images up there, if you have financial advisors who, stereotypically speaking, love golf, they all love to golf, but you have a picture of somebody who is doing, oh, I don't know,
rock
magic
climbing.
card.
Rock
climbing. Yeah. Quite honestly, maybe there's some that do like rock. I'm just thinking of something totally different.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And maybe it's, that they love magic cards. Like that is not going to appeal to their psyche.
Yeah.
You need to not only appeal to the demographic, but you need to understand who they are inside.
Yeah.
One of the reasons. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me dive there right there, because I heard years ago, psychographic, an easy way to understand is birds of a feather, because they flock together. So I had a call with one of my clients earlier today, and we were talking about our 15-year-old daughters. He's like, yeah, I'm taking mine next week to the Michigan State game. That's where he graduated from. He's taking her there. If I know that about him and that type of people, guess what my marketing should have in it? That's kind of what Travis is talking about. Okay, I just had to jump in there because it was a today thing.
Yes, and yesterday, and I was just going to mention this, I don't start off with automating Facebook ads, but when you get to the point where Inviteology has worked so well, then automate it. So I'm in the point of automation, and guess what I'm doing? I'm not only plugging in financial advisor 35 to 50 living in the United States, I'm plugging in, they like to golf.
Yes.
They like outdoor sports. They are interested in boom, boom, boom. You want to know their interests, their likes, their personality. Okay. Once you have the broader definition of niche, Michael, I think what you said was golden earlier, and that is go deep.
Yeah.
Go deep. You can't serve everyone at first.
Right.
You have to be a niche specialist. You can broaden your niche as you become more famous, and over time you can be famous to everyone. You can be a Brandon Bouchard, you could be a Tony Robbins, you can be a Susie Orman if you're in the financial world, whoever that is. But they didn't start off that way. They
Right.
weren't an overnight success. They started off with niches. The riches are in the niches.
Yeah.
So you start there. And then the next part is, well, then how do you invite them? How do you do that? Find out where they're hanging out. If
Oh,
your niche is primarily on Instagram, Facebook, go there. If they're primarily on YouTube, go there. However, I will tell you this, and I love that you have your LinkedIn profile there in the
yeah.
corner. LinkedIn has been the single best social platform for invitology that I've
Mm,
ever experienced. Why? Because you can organically connect with people that there's
yeah.
no way you would have an opportunity unless it's with ads on Instagram, Facebook, a lot of these places. You can follow these big, influencers, but with LinkedIn, you can request a connection. And there are ways to automate that once you have that figured out. If you don't have Sales Navigator and you don't have LinkedIn, you're missing out on the biggest business platform in the world.
Yeah.
You're, you're,
Absolutely.
you're doing it wrong.
And let me jump in there.
Please.
And Travis hasn't revealed this yet, but it's a conversational approach, right? Because I
Totally.
get so many LinkedIn things that are just blatant. I'd love to connect with you, and then it's a sales pitch. It's like, would you stop it?
Yeah.
I'm open to relationships
Yeah.
and being invited, but I'm pretty repelled to the sales pitch right off the bat because that's not how we build things.
Totally.
Is that
So before I wrote the book, I actually hired a company who claimed that they would be able to get me several appointments a month through LinkedIn. And I was
okay?
like, okay, it's worth a try. I'll try it out for a month or two. Um, After doing this for 60 days, I said, guys, yeah, I'm not paying you $400 a month anymore.
Yeah,
This is ridiculous. I've got one appointment, and they were kind of upset that I even was reaching out to them. What's going on?
yeah,
And anybody who's anyone on LinkedIn knows you get dozens of messages every day in your inbox. Do not be the guy or the gal who's spamming people on LinkedIn.
thank you.
It is a very professional network. It is the most professional network. That's why it's LinkedIn. Now, that said, that doesn't mean you have to be stuffy. It
Right.
doesn't mean you have to be, here's my resume every time you do a post. If anybody follows me on LinkedIn, I'm posting about my kids, my wife, our vacations. I'm being very personal. Why? Because my messaging is balance. My
Yes,
messaging is about, it's not just work, it's
that's right.
everything else in your life you want to accomplish. So be beyond with your brand, but notice also it's a very professional network. So the thing that we do is we connect with only those who fit our ideal
Yep.
client niche
Yeah.
in the demographic first, because that's really all you can control. All you can control is the demographic. And on LinkedIn, if you open up Sales Navigator and you do a search, you can search for everything that I just mentioned
Right.
and more. Years in the
Mhm.
business, position title, how long they've been, connecting with other people. Anyway, the list goes on, and it can be very time consuming to brush through those. But at first, just get in there, get the
Yeah.
basic demographics.
Yeah.
The second thing you do is you invite them to have a connection with you, and you build a conversation through invitology. This is the key right here, because you will stand out more than anyone else who's trying to hit you up in any DM in any social platform.
Yeah.
And that is, you invite them to podcast, be a guest for an event, to be interviewed for a book or a course that you're putting together, whatever that you're doing, whatever you're creating, invite people into that conversation. So, and here's kind of the background to this. I wrote a book in 2010. Nobody even knows what it was. It was an ebook. I sold maybe 3 or 4 of them, and I had a few hundred free downloads, kind of a thing. And I did get one client.
Okay.
Total failure, Michael. Total failure. But I learned from failures, and I moved forward. And I said, that didn't work. Well, why not? And I pieced it back together. And that's because I wrote it. And I didn't include anyone,
Mm.
not a soul. But when you include other people in your marketing, in your books, in your content, you invite them in. This is the key. you not only get great feedback, again, content for your book, but some of those people like, hey, I want to come to this event. This sounds amazing. I want to, be on your podcast. That sounds fantastic. I love to give my input. Awesome. So then you ask them, have you been interviewed for a book about blah, 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 blah? Have you ever been on a podcast to discuss ding, 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 your key components? Have you been interviewed for a possible course that we're creating? I'm doing this thing. I would love to invite you. You are ideal for the person that I'm trying to get this to. I'd love your input. Now, not everybody's going to reply yes, but I will tell you this. Most people go, this was awesome. I love your message.
Yeah.
I love you didn't sell me in the first connection. I love that you're wanting my input because they're being recognized as a leader in their field. Yes. And who doesn't want that?
Absolutely. And they don't feel like a, dare I say, a piece of meat. Yeah. Okay, you didn't respond after 2. I'm done. No. Consistency over time, because Travis, I know there are people following you on LinkedIn who haven't responded yet.
Oh, for sure.
Watching your posts to go, is he consistent with his messaging and things, or is he a charlatan?
Yeah.
And consistency over time with your brand message and how you approach things, so very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the consistency in my marketing has brought in over the last couple of years over $1 million in sales from this method only. No Facebook ads, no Google ads. We have referrals from our clients, which is fantastic. I love those. But Inviteology, even with my clients, I can have them invite others to events. I can have them invite someone to a podcast. And then they don't feel like, oh, I'm going to send you someone that you're going to sick on and you're going to suck blood from the next 2 years and try to get them to do so. No, you're going to invite them in. And if they're not a good fit, guess what? You don't have to offer anything.
That's right.
Because you're going to be evaluating. For example, I'll invite people into my podcast. Some of them are influencers, and so I'm not going to probably ask them to do anything. But if they're an ideal client of mine, then at the end of the show, they will have told me a lot of the answers to things that I need to talk to them about. And a lot of times, at the end, they'll say, you know what, you're the balance guy. I appreciate you asking these questions. This was good. And I'm not embarrassing them on the podcast.
No.
Afterwards, they're saying, hey, I would love to know more about what you do. Yeah. And then I set up another appointment, and now it goes into my sales funnel, and I treat them respectfully, and we walk them through the process, and it's all about a good fit. But on that podcast, the key is I can decide, do their psychographics match up with the type of client I want to work with?
Right.
I can be picky.
And see, and that's good, because at the same time, you're valuing them and their expertise, their contribution. They can still be on the podcast and share with your audience. They just don't qualify to become a client because they don't fit normally. And that's great. They love being on the podcast. Everything's great. And the other thing, Travis, is that business owners have to understand there's a long game mentality, even though this doesn't have to be a long game, but it's the relationship component. And how many times when you air a podcast that somebody's been on, like this one, you're going to promote it to your audience. I'm going to promote it to my audience. In all of that, we're going to get referrals from other places that we would never have done had we not invited you here.
Precisely. No, precisely. So if you can be different in your marketing, you're going to stand out, but you still need to be professional. And honestly, the best way I've learned through coaching and practice and basically modeling this, now that I now teach this to my clients, and I now have figured out how to automate this through LinkedIn system in a professional way.
Yes. That
literally we get hundreds of messages every single day. Yeah. We get about 45 to 50 new appointments a month. I have to hire a sales team in order to fulfill on this, so that I'm not the one running around ragged, and I can keep my balance as balance man, and author of Achieving Balance here. So, the great thing is, with business is if you can figure out a way that you do it just different than everyone else, you're going to be seen as a cut above. So if everyone else is like, hey, I can show you how to get 20 more appointments, every day, and they're slamming a sales pitch in your DM, you're going to block them.
Yeah.
You're going to never talk to them again. But most of our messages get opened, if not replied, either saying, no, thanks, this is great, I love it, I'm just not a good fit, or I think this is the best thing since sliced bread. Now, what's great about this is if they do become clients, I take them through my process. I help them to have balance and grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
They've already been through the inviteology process.
Right.
And they go, Travis, can you teach me this? This is genius. And I say, absolutely. This is part of what I do. And this is how I can help you. And, we partner with people like you that publish. We partner with podcast producers that do the podcast. That's not our game, but what our game is helping people to use the right messaging through inviteology to grow their business in order for them to keep their balance. I'm balanced, man. I'm not the marketing guru, but I will tell you, one of the reasons why I'm even offering this anymore is because I would help people achieve balance and they'd turn around and go, okay, great. Now I'm going to up level my business. And what they do, they throw their balance out their window.
Yeah, exactly.
For 5 years, I'm going to go crazy. Like, no, you can still have balance. You can still have your health. You can still be married to your same spouse. Your kids will still love you and you can grow a business. You can 10x it without losing that balance.
Yeah. That is so good. It's funny you mentioned that. When I first got into the business, I was doing a lot of reading and research around all the marketing gurus who've been around forever, right? And it seemed like there were two commonalities, Travis, in order to be successful in business. One, you had to have been married at least 3 times. And 2, you had to go through at least 1, if not 2 bankruptcies. And I just looked at that. I said, if that's the equation for success, count me out.
Right.
And I've realized there's a different way. You offer a totally different way to go, no, you can, I'm not going to say you can have it all. You can have balance. You can have a successful, growing business, thriving marriage and family, and keep it all, because it's not dependent on you, as you've heard Travis say over and over, systems. People, resources. I mean, that's what I talk about all the time. I love the concept of inviteology. I've been doing it with my podcast. I didn't know that's what I was doing. But we follow a very similar process. We could obviously up the game and do different things, but there's so much to learn here. You've included this in your book. Talk a little bit about your book coming up. When's it supposed to be out, and how to get a copy of that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then, we'll talk about the book in just a second, but one last thing.
Yeah.
In order to keep your balance, and you hit on this, so I'm going to touch about it just for a second. The crucial piece that I've discovered is your spouse. So if you are married and you do have a family, we have to understand that we don't just have personal development our whole life through. Yeah. We're married to people that care about us. We care about them. So we actually develop together, which means if you own a business, even if your spouse is not involved at all, that person is your first and best fan.
Amen.
Right? When the business is hurting, they're hurting. And they know it. They feel it from you. So why in the world would we try to just shoulder this all by ourselves, take on the load? Well, I don't want to hurt my spouse. I don't want to involve her too much. I don't want to stress him or her out. It doesn't matter. They need to know what your goals are, what your directions are, and you need to know about their goals, their direction, their dreams. My wife and I, we just yesterday purchased a piece of property that is our dream home site.
Congratulations.
Okay? We've been working on this for 20 years together. We have goals that we work on together. Why? It helps me to keep my balance, number 1. 2, it strengthens our relationship. I have a dissertation built on that. And in Achieving Balance, I talk about this a little bit. In balanced growth, it's not just about inviteology and a great marketing method. It's about how you can improve your relationship with your spouse and your family. You can keep or improve that balance literally forever. And couple development, what I call that, is the key, and the last key to that whole formula of what I call the balanced growth method. So if you're interested in this, go to balancedgrowthbook.com. The book is forthcoming. You can get a free training that I'll go into detail, even more detail on what we've discussed today. You get a whole bunch of freebies on there and gifts and ideas and such. And we will not spam you. We will send you quality content that you can consume, use right now to up your game, 10x your business before the book even comes out. And when it does come out, we will definitely update the website, and you will be able to purchase it right from the website or from Amazon. When that goes live, you will know. You'll be the first to know. So definitely do that. It's totally worth it. You can be on our waiting list right now, and you can actually pre-order right through that site so that you're going to be the first ones to know. Otherwise, you're welcome to follow me on LinkedIn or travisparry.com for all the things balanced growth.
That's awesome. Balancedgrowthbook.com. We'll make sure that that's in the show notes. So if you're busy taking a walk or doing whatever you're doing right now, go back to the show notes, grab that, balancedgrowthbook.com, and see what Travis has for you there, and dive into his book. Follow him on LinkedIn. He's the real deal. He has built a super successful business, continues to grow, and he's got a great, thriving family. And I love the fact that you're doing things with your spouse and achieving goals. He's got kids. I mean, the guy is one of those guys you look at, because so many times, Travis, we look at successful people and they're devoid of the family side. They never talk about that. So one thing I like about you is you integrate everything, because success void of family and marriage is not success in my eyes.
It's
and
not.
so you've got to bring it all together, and it's hard to keep balance. And that's why we keep referring to Travis as the balanced guy. He understands this. He lives it. I think you have a PhD in it.
Yeah.
And
I know a little bit. I know a little bit.
Just a little bit. And he shares it openly. So go to balancedgrowthbook.com. Get the resources he has now. Get the book when it comes out. You'll be the first to know. And see how you can live your future in a more balanced way, and understand this whole concept around inviteology, because it really, really, really works. It's different, and it's so relational and professional. I really think, Travis, this is kind of the tipping point of that iceberg that's going to take people to the next level. So thank you for being my guest. Thanks for doing what you do.
Absolutely.
And for sharing this concept of inviteology.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you having me on the show.
You are so welcome, brother. Talk soon.
Thanks.